Welcome to week 3 of Comic Book Making Club. I'm trying a new venue tonight, so I hope this works for everyone. Trying to share the space with my young ones. So here we are, week 3. I'll be talking a lot, but this is a recap from our previous week. You just do a little social media posting. And we'll go from there. Oh my gosh. Hearts and likes already. Well, thank you. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you. Thank you. Hold on a second. Let me see if I can get the chat open. Okay. All right, cool. Hey, hey, thank you so much for joining. Thank you for being here. I'm just do some background music because it's really quiet where I'm at. So if you don't mind. Um, but yeah, thank you for joining. What is something that you love about comic books? Oh my gosh, so many people are here. Thank you so much for being here. Welcome, welcome to Comic Book Making Club. This club is for everyone. This club is amazing because any questions, there are open space. I myself am a comic book artist. I have one actually published comic book, and it's amazing. It's called Snack Time, The Picnic, and I'm currently working on several others. So thank you all for being here. Thank you for the likes and the love. Comic Book Making Club, again, it's for all artists, all skill levels, whether you're published, not published, if you just like comics and you don't want to create one, that is okay. My favorite story is the story and the characters. I love the characters. I love stories too, and I think that's why I like writing comics. I love just different stories and different characters, and that is always fun for me. Definitely. Let me just, yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, I definitely love characters. I think characters really help make the story like the most memorable. Um, like off cuff, Scott Pilgrim versus the world. That's a great character that's a normal life and just has a lot to offer for comic book making. And it's really important to like have a good. That's week 1 actually. No, week 2. Sorry, week 2. Where we discussed character design. So it was just last week, and just kind of how the character really helps shape the story. And you want to write a character that fits into your story and how that goes. Um, yeah, week 3 we're going over. Uh, Comic books and world building. And so I did write some notes. I'm just really disorganized. I'm sorry. But just give me a few minutes. Let me get myself together. I hope everyone had a good weekend, having a good day. And we are here, week 3. This is 8 weeks of comic book making, and it's going to be great. Um, okay, here we go. I don't know if you can hear it. Can you hear it? It's a little noisy. Okay, wait, wait. Okay, cool. Oh, awesome. Thanks. Thank you for checking out the last stream. Yes, I am gonna try to go back and make condensed versions of those videos. So thank you. Thank you. Glad you had a good day. Okay, I got the music going. We got our notes. We got our helpful guide that's available on my Kofi. Um, and so at this time, we're gonna jump right in with our comic book club. We just let the people who ain't here come on in the room, you know. Yeah. I think overall, I would love to share that comic book making club. I've already stated that it's for everyone. Um, but I would love for just everyone to get something out of club. Just knowing that there's a community for comic book artists. You're not alone in making your comic book. And that's something that I felt before as an artist. Just kind of being alone by myself, like I'm doing this and I have no resources, I have no help. And you can watch 1,000 hours of YouTube videos, but it's different in having people to go on a journey with together. And just, I'm happy to have everyone here. So come on in the room. All right. I let the main ones know. And if you missed it, that's okay. We're still here. So let's begin. Week 3 is set and world building. So if you have our guide, it's available for free slash donations on my Ko-fi page. I'll start off with world building is equally as important as the characters and the story. This tells where your story takes place, whether it's the real world or a fantasy landscape. Knowing the environment helps build how the characters progress through the story, making sure it makes sense to your story. You don't want cows. You don't want cows in space unless that is your thing. You can draw it for yourself or use the photo as a reference. Yes, I get that. It is so amazing to have a community um and just build a fandom because you can do art shares and things like that. So thank you for being here. Um so in the guide I started off with just some clip art, like a city, like a field, and just kind of like an idea of a very vague idea of what world building can be. And I feel like when world building is already done, once you have the story in your mind, you already know where it's going to take place, where is it happening. Then as you expand into your actual story, different aspects. So like the comic I'm currently working on, it is it's kind of something like think Zootopia, Sing, Animalverse, because my characters are animals. And one of the first things I decided, okay, there's no people, everyone is an animal attribute. And so it's taking that inspiration of more on the long lines of Sing than that because there were like animals that I felt like were missing that weren't represented in Zootopia. But it all comes back from me loving to draw cats and loving to draw pugs. And so that's how we got to this modern world, but it's all talking animals. Um, so it's really fun. Um, so I went online and I got some tips and details for world building and just kind of just some little guide points that I felt like could be more helpful than what I found I created on my own. So according to our good friend Google, we have, key steps are conceptualizing the core idea. So what is the genre you want to tell? Then we have the theme. What's the central message or idea you want to explore? And lastly, you want to focus on your central context. What drives the main plot of your comic? And I feel like we can all express this with world building, with what genre. If we're gonna have a fantasy story, I think that part is it really goes into like timeline or time setting because you have old world fantasy like Tolkien, Lord of the Rings. Then you have like a little mid-modern because I had no idea until recently that like Harry Potter is set in the 90s apparently. Didn't know that. Was not aware. But it's just those little details that we can add into our worlds that will help a reader see, like, okay, where is this taking place? And so, what is your, trying to get engaged, build a community, what are some genres that you really like to read as far as comics? And how does that world express through the genre? While you're typing, I'll go first. My favorite worlds are I like slice of life. I like the everyday modern world. Sometimes I feel like with high fantasy, there's a lot of language barriers, and that part can be like a little bit confusing. because like I do love the Lord of the Rings, but them elves and them orcs and the subtitles, I'm gonna get distracted by like this humongous world. And sometimes I feel like that takes away from the story, unless it's a part of the story. Um, but when I like slice of life, like the modern, the contemporary, everyone's got a working phone. Just so many problems could be solved with a working cell phone. Yeah, I like action, slice of life, romance, comedy, bit of horror. I love all of those. I definitely have only just recently got into action stories. Um, and I really think they're fun and just the different parts or that can be added in. I'll have to check her out. Aisha Thani. Okay. Well, and switch between comedic and serious. That's always something that's really important to have is like balance between the funny and the serious. Because like you have stories that are just too funny and it's like over the top, it gets a little gimmicky, but a good balance is always something really nice to have. So thank you guys for sharing that. Um, So, got our genre, and then our theme is what's the central message or idea. And I feel like that's more into your story, your outline. You know, your building up of what you want your story to be, your comic to be about. And then our central conflict. I think that's one part that can get overlooked in writing. I know as myself as a writer, because it's like if there's no conflict, then what's propelling the story on? And so I've kind of been taking a break. I'm still working on my outline, but it's just like, what is the problem? Because it's got to be something that propels the character into the story. And so I'm doing a lot of this happened and that, this, then that, or I think it's the right phrase is like because of. Um, so. I am still working through my outline, so it's okay if you have not got your outline done by week 3 or if you're just here for the ride. Thank you for being here. So, next we're going to talk about developing the setting. So, we've got geography, climate, ecology. Our geography, geographic location. Are we taking place in a city, the countryside? I mean, the possibilities are endless. You can really be anywhere. Um, Climate, I feel like that's I think of Avatar: The Last Airbender. You know how each book of that story had a certain climate or certain atmosphere. Then our ecology, I think that breaks down into our animal and plant life. And sometimes those things are like important. So like with the comic I'm working on, Pug and Cat, which title's pending, so we'll see. With Pug and Cat, you know, everybody's an animal. You've got birds, you've got cats, dogs, fish, lizards, but what about wildlife? And so the idea is that, okay, in place of wildlife, the insects are the wildlife. Um, so that's an idea that I'm having as far as the ecology goes. And like the climate, it's city. So, you know, we're gonna have hot days, we're gonna have cold days. It varies. Um, Then we're gonna just keep on moving on. If you have any questions, ask them at any time. I thank you for being here. Hello, Tony, and welcome to the club. Are you ready to make some comics? This is week 3. We are world building. We're moving through our points. Again, I have this guide, and I apologize if you get the guide and you see the typos. I'm gonna fix that. I promise. I promise. But yes, so welcome to week 3 of Comic Book Making Club. So happy to have you here. If you have any questions, if you want me to recap anything that you may have missed in previous weeks, please feel free to let me know. So, and we are moving along. We're now talking about creating societies and cultures. That's our political systems, our social hierarchies, our customs, our traditions, our languages, the boring stuff. I feel like world building can be a bit overwhelming when we add in too many details, unless it's important to the plot. What we need to know and what we don't need to know. Let's look at in a story, Dexter's Lab. We don't need to know who is the president in Dexter's Lab. right? It's irrelevant to the plot. Well, you're right. World building is tough. At the same time, Avatar: The Last Airbender, who was running things? Fire Nation. Am I right? Right. So I feel like it's as you go through your outline and your story structure, you know what details are important to your world and what you can leave behind. So I think for my comic I'm working on, yes, you are right. Avatar has amazing world building. Absolutely. Because there's so many details, and I think that's really what makes Avatar such a good story because the world and the story they fit together so well. Um, and I really feel like it covers, the creators, they really went into good details of covering any questions that you could have because it was all around this entire world, this entire Avatar universe. So yeah, you're right. Avatar, great, very good. Um, so like the traditions, you see it in the clothes, the style of dress, just how the people interact with one another. So all of these little small details can really have an impact in your story. And as you continue your story and as it continues to develop and build, you get more, your story comes alive. Your story can resonate with people. So like my story, Pug and Cat, you have, it's kind of it's a bit of a class or hierarchy. Each animal belongs to its own animal group. You've got predators, you've got prey, you have, animals that just don't mix, the nocturnal animals versus the day creatures. And so in all of these different dynamics and animal hierarchy, you will run into problems and conflicts and stereotypes and just kind of prejudices. Um, so it's taking all of those parts of like details of like mapping out how your story is something that's going to do to fit with your plot. And it may be more than just like drawing a picture of like a background, drawing a picture of an office setting or stuff. And those are important details too, but our main focus when we're world building is the inner workings of what is relevant to our story. Because that's all we're really trying to do. We're trying to make sure that the details fit our story. So I'm not gonna have outer space in my comic. It's not a space odyssey. I don't need it. And not last, but I just have two more notes. So we got history and lore, which are key events, myths, legends, important figures, and details. And so I think with the history and lore of my comic, you can go in and you can add or take away of like, okay, how did this world exist? How is there a world of only talking animals? You know, what do the talking animals eat? Um, just different things like that, or kind of like details that build up everything. Like if it was a fantasy, then we would need myths, legends, heroes, and things like that. Um, Gosh, I can't think of the name, but there's a new show and it's about this girl who's a wrestler, or she dreams of being a wrestler. She grows up on a Accountant Island. If somebody knows the name of the show, please drop it in the chat. But in a wrestling world, um, and she's an accountant. It focused on that, like you understand from episode one that the whole world is mostly wrestlers. And if you're not a wrestler, you're a former wrestler. And so taking all of that, it puts, okay, well, who's of the story? A wrestler. So what I'm not going to do is put a human in an animal world. I just feel like that wouldn't fit. Page two. So the real artistic part is the visual design. So you have your art style, your color palette, character design, your landscape design. So if we look at different worlds, think of like some classic cartoons, Fairly Odd Parents. Though if you and visualize those backgrounds, they are a lot of like monochromatic unless something needed to stand out. Like in Scooby Doo, in old episodes of Scooby Doo, you can clearly see where something's about to be touched because it's highlighted in the background. if something's about to move because it's colored differently. Um, or when we talk about art style, also think of like Miyazaki films and how these beautiful landscape and settings are done in like traditional brushstrokes and just really elaborately done. That art style is designed that way. Now, then you have some things where it's like simpler, very simple, very basic. Most of the screen is just a blank box. And I feel like where you have to find balance in your world building is the what's important to the story, what's important to the plot. Um, and I feel like you'll find your own voice. You'll find your own set art style that relates back to your character design and will really make it stand out. So again, hope I'm not rambling too much. If you have any questions or anything you want to add, please drop it in the chat below. We got about 9 minutes. Trying to keep these short. I know it's a Monday. And people got work in the morning or school or life. So yes, please feel free to interject with any questions. I love when I can see the art style evolve throughout the comic. I do like that myself. Just seeing the development of the artists, of just seeing like those pilot episodes or those first chapters and how they develop and grow over time. I feel like that's really important to like a good story, a good comic just being told. You kind of see it grow, and that's always lovely. Mhm. I think our last point for our world building setting. Oh, wait, I'm so bad at details of the story the other day. Any tips on how to get in the flow of writing more? I think the best way to get the flow of writing more is to build your own fable, build your own fantasy. So if you have superheroes, then okay, let's go with the examples. Batman. We know Batman becomes this vigilante hero. But we also know that as far as the world building, Gotham is already a character in itself. Gotham is already a city that's riddled with crime. And so, because we know that Batman has to exist in a world with crime, he can't exist in a world without crime. So, it's turning your setting into its own character. So, my comic, Pug and Cat, we know that it's an animal world, so I can't just have it focused on these two characters. I have to build upon the other characters and build into backstory. So it's like developing the setting of the character itself, knowing their likes, their dislikes, their habits. And then from there, once you have this character, then you can pull the parts out that develop into more parts of the story. So I hope that helps. Um, Another example could be so you've got Batman lives in crime-riddled Gotham. You have um, Dexter's Lab, where you have a boy genius living in a regular world. Um, Avatar, it's the entire Avatar universe, like the avatars existed before them. So it's like doing a bit of a backstory before the actual story takes place. I hope that helps. Any other questions or comments before our time here is done? I'm just so thankful you all can make it and you're here to participate in club. This has been a wonderful, wonderful time. So thank you. Be sure to like, subscribe, stay tuned for we have much more comic book making club to go and other comic book related content. Trying to be more active on YouTube, post more videos, post more art processes, and just things to just help really build a strong foundation of this comic book making community. Here's how many rough drafts you make while creating. There is no limit to how many rough drafts because your final draft can be easily become a rough draft. Thank you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate the love. Thank you. Yeah. So, for example, my published comic, Snack Time, started out nothing like what it was. Originally, everyone was a bear character, and I had inked and colored and everything, but actually like published. And then I walked away from it, came back a year later, I'm like, wow, none of this fits. Then I have some web comics that are online available to read on Webtoon Canvas, and how it starts totally different. And I'm looking at one of them now. It's called The Noodle Kid, and I'm ready to change the whole story because as you evolve as a person, so do your characters. So do you change as you learn new skills, as you learn new things about art and making comics. It's kind of like, okay, I've developed as a character, so should my characters. So, just trying to illustrate whatever your central idea is will change. So no, there's no limit to drafts. Now, when it comes to like certain parts of the comic book making process, I do try to set a limit or a time frame on how many outlines or rough drafts I will do because you can get stuck in that same thing over and over and over again. It's like, okay, this isn't right. Okay, I'm gonna change those details. Like the number of character designs I have went through. I'm even still in the process of changing character designs for Pug and Cat because at first I was really in love with the cutesy look, and I'm like, it's too cute. This is not a cute story. They is too cute. So I am in the process of getting ready to change the design again, and you just got to commit to one thing. Once I say give it three. The three strikes, you're out. After that third draft, move on. Otherwise, you're stuck. And so for me, this the final design I do for these characters. That's it. We're there. Yeah. And I think that's a part of like, that consistency is key. You got to commit to it, even if you hate it. So that way, when it's done, then you can go back, check it out again. So thank you all for, again, thanks so much for being here. We got about a few minutes left. Try to keep this the full 30 minutes. So if you want to stay for the last few minutes, you can. Any questions, feel free to ask. So this has been really nice. I thank you again for being here. And yeah, get the free guide. Come back next week. I'm thinking of actually changing the day of the week because Mondays are rough. Okay, I get it, Garfield. I really get it. Yeah, no problem. Any questions? If you have any questions that you didn't get to ask and come up later with, feel free to ask. My day's been good. My day's been good. It was a big chore day, so I got quite a few chores done, and then no school for the kiddos. So that was cool, just hanging out with them. And other than that, after club, I'm just gonna like decompress, relax. And that's it. So it wasn't a bad day. I'll give it a 7 out of 10. I can live with a 7. I think I just need a good cup of tea and then call it a night. But yeah, comic book making club has been mind blowing because I did not expect it to be this great. So such a blessing. Um, but yeah, so I think the last points I have as far as world building is treat the world like it's a character. Fill fill in those gaps with your plot points. Is it gonna make sense? Um, you want to pick your art style. Thank you, thank you so much. Oh yes, tea is great. Um, yeah, yeah, I got notes. I'm gonna type these up, put them in the guide. Hope that gives a better explanation of world building because at first, originally, I thought world building was only like drawing your backgrounds, and it's so much more to it than that. It really is its own character, whether it's Gotham, Metropolis, Central City, or wherever the heck the Hulk is from. Um, you know. But world building is like you treat it like a character. You give it its own personality, and yeah, right. You're really building the world as well. As you build the story, the world is a part of it. And I think overall, if you get, your art style is going to be whatever it's going to be, and you'll find you'll find the details. You'll find what matters. It's one thing I've seen a lot of writers do is they create, walk away, and you maybe walk away for 30 days, and then when you come right back to it, you'll know what to cut and what to keep. But that is our time. We've hit our 30-minute mark. So thank you everyone for being here, for tuning in. It has been such a blessing to have you all. Stay tuned, stay blessed. Backgrounds are nice. I'll finish this off right quick though. I didn't see it that way until now. I thought just in case. So real quick, some helpful tips I've seen that other artists do, and I'll probably make this a whole separate video. As the background is a room. And when you're drawing the comic, you can, if you're doing it digitally and even traditionally, you can just copy and paste that same background over and over again. So, hope this helps. More to come. I'll see you guys all next week where we will be doing more comic book making club. We're gonna start laying out and paneling, so I better get on this outline. So it's gonna be great. So y'all stay tuned, stay blessed. Have a good night.